Hey, welcome to Wisdom and Prosperity. I'm Devon Cooper.
I'm Jason Dixie.
And today we have a special guest today, and Mr. John Dortch. How you doing, Mr. Dortch?
I'm great. How are you?
It's going to be a special day. Today we're gonna bounce around a little bit like we do all the time on Wisdom and Prosperity, where we don't just stick to one topic. You know, we talk about a lot of things. And, you know, we just want to bring wisdom and prosperity to the people and the viewers. Y'all feeling good?
Feeling good.
How things going? Y'all letting the Zimmerman case hold y'all down. Everybody looks slouched over. I don't. It's all love. It's all love. But I've been having a lot of things on my heart about money and how it's treated from our people, by our people, politics and how politics get involved with a lot of this, court cases and different things like that. I want to ask you guys, what are true politics and are they important?
I think they're very important. I mean, you know, ever since I was a little boy, you know, my mom used to always tell me, you know, politics is in everything, you know, and I was like, what are you talking about? You know, all the way from the guy on the street, all the way up to the guy in the White House, you know, and everything in between. So politics plays a major role in everything, you know. I was watching a program last night, Inside Man, and this guy was on there and he was picking like, you know, oranges in Florida, you know, and he was only getting like 95 cents, man, like per bucket. So it's like $9.50 a day. And you got like 11 million illegal immigrants, you know, and some of them are doing that job, you know, and they went to the White House, or not to the White House, they went to a guy's office that was in politics that, you know, could probably help them out, you know, in the situation. And that just goes to show, like, you know, and there's a lot of, you know, Latino people now, you know what I mean? Like, and that just goes to show they, you know, went in the man's office and actually talked to him about this, you know, and try to rectify the situation, you know, because they couldn't get, you know, legal citizenship and all of that stuff, no matter how much they work. You know what I'm saying? So, so for me, politics is in everything across the board,
Yeah, I agree.
you know.
Because, you know, it's politics in the NBA, NFL. People, I remember when people used to say it, I didn't understand it like Jason said, but I understand it, you know, it's, you know, and a lot of things, they know who the first round pick gonna be before months and months. They
I don't know though.
But we
You
don't
sure?
know.
Yes.
Yeah,
sure?
I
That's
think
true.
though,
Muppets right.
just like the guy that just got drafted, I don't know his name, but we didn't know.
You talking about NBA or NFL?
NBA. They went to the Cleveland.
Nobody even expected him
We
to
didn't
get
know
picked
him.
first,
Yeah,
right?
this dude. I ain't gonna say he was a nobody because he's somebody now, but we didn't know him, but they knew.
Right.
But I think a lot of that is paying attention to what's going on. As much as people talk about it, I don't think people really, it's just like the word of God. A lot of people are so spiritual at some point, but they're not truly spending time with God. You know, I think a lot of people who claim to be sports analysts and even at home, people, oh, I know it all, I know what's going on. I don't think a lot of these people really pay attention or even have a clue what's going on truly, you know. They just give an opinion. So when you start talking about a person being a nobody, I mean, he couldn't have been. He had to been putting up numbers that was compared to some of the top players in the country. He just was overlooked.
But not to cut you off, but we're just saying that, you know, he wasn't expected to go first.
Right.
Analysts, like you know, were saying they had somebody else expected to go first.
I thought that's what the draft was about, though.
No. The draft is like, it's already like structured and it was supposed to be structured, but it's like Muff said, and like we already know, and you guys know, I mean, it's all set up. I mean, when I auditioned for America's Got Talent, you know, last year, you know, and the guy asked me, how did your other experience go on this other show that you auditioned for? I said, oh, it went good. I said, but let me just be honest with you. And I probably shouldn't have said that. Let me be honest with you. Right. I said, if the producers don't like you, if you don't have a manager or management, big management, then you ain't getting on these shows. You know, and as soon as his head dropped, that was a telltale that I was on the right track. Right. You know what I mean? It's all set up. So they know who gonna win. They know who gonna get on the show. They know when they gonna get kicked off. All of that, man.
So do you think?
But by me saying that, that's why I didn't get the show.
Do you think they know on American Idol?
Say it again.
On American Idol.
Do they do it on American Idol?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But what about the votes? You think the votes are just thrown out?
Yeah, it's done in everything. You know, I know we're talking about sports, but if you look at the business world, or the politics, if you're on a job, you can walk in, be well qualified, but that does not mean that you're going to get the position. Someone else can walk in that's less qualified, and they could get the position. Strictly politics, who they know, the relationship they have, and all of that. So it has to do with that. I was reading an article this morning about Mr. Ramsey, the gentleman in Cleveland
Not
that
Dave Ramsey.
rescued those three
Oh, okay.
young ladies. Not Dave Ramsey, not the financial group.
The guy who kidnapped the ladies.
Right. He didn't kidnap them. He had to rescue
He rescued
them.
them.
Yes.
They ran.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
yeah,
I'm got it all jacked up. I know it. Yeah.
But the article is that he say he's broke now because no one has stepped up to help him. Each one of those young ladies are getting $250,000. But what is he getting? He got a few bucks here and there. He's selling T-shirts with his picture on them for $25. But that's a dead end because after 6 months or whatever, everyone has
died down
forgotten
a
that
little bit.
exactly. So the politics of it, is it because of his race? Is it because he spoke out? What is it? But there's politics involved as to why he is not being treated somewhat more as a celebrity.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it's just like Sweet Brown. You know who Sweet Brown is? The
Yes.
lady that
Yes.
Yes.
the fire.
Right.
Oh Lord Jesus, this fire.
Right.
She got big over there, and she's doing it though right now. She's African American. She's older. I don't know what she does. As far as drugs or whatnot. But she has that, she has that image. So I mean, she's doing well though, man. She's getting paid by song artists. She's doing TV shows.
But that goes back to what he was saying. He's saying that race could be an option. It could be one of the things that could hold you back. But
Right.
what you're saying is because she's an African American, she's finding success. But it still goes back to what he was saying as far as who you know.
That's exactly right.
And what value you can bring to
Right,
other
right.
people. And see, I agree with you guys. I just think that there's certain ways around it at times. A person may not like me, but if I can show him the value that I can bring to his company, and we talking about business, then perhaps he may say, let's push aside my emotions or my personal feelings and let's get something done. Would you guys, you wouldn't agree with that?
No, I agree. That's
So-
possible,
It's possible.
but it doesn't always happen.
Right.
In majority of cases, if you are a black male, it's very difficult. Anderson Cooper had a special on last night from 10 to 11 on the Trayvon Martin case. Very interesting, a round table discussion. And I think we'll focus a lot on the Trayvon Martin, a 16-year-old. But today in America, if you're black, whether you're 16 or whether you're 80, the same thing can happen to you as a black male.
That is so true. I know. He hit the nail on the head. I mean, I was in a store the other day, and a lady I was in front of her, behind her, and she was walking with her kid. I had my kid with me too, and since she saw I had a T-shirt on, some shorts, and I think some gym shoes, she thought I was going to do something to her. So instead of her going the way that I knew she wanted to go, which was my way, she ended up going straight. So I called her on her stuff and said, "Don't worry, I don't bite." And then she didn't know what to say when I said that. Oh, no, it's nothing like that. Oh, no. I said, I don't know why people think I'm going to do something to them, but I'm not. I said, I'm one of the nicest guys you probably ever want to meet. And if nothing else, I might have called her out, but at the same time, I hope I called her out enough to where when she's around another African-American male.
That is correct.
We're not all bad. Everybody has good and bad in their race. You know what I mean? Whether you white, black, Mexican, purple, green.
Correct.
Whatever you are. You know what I mean?
But
I just want her to know that.
But you believe that politics can play the role of positive or negative?
I do, yes.
Most certainly.
It's like Eddie Murphy said one time. He said he was looking at the paper and it was like, N-word, look at that brother reading the paper. You ain't supposed to be reading the paper. And then he pulled his head up and it was like, oh my God, Eddie Murphy. It's Eddie Murphy, y'all. They changed their whole tune. Why does it have to be my celebrity has to come into play for you to see me differently? Why can't it just be Eddie Murphy, the person, not Eddie Murphy Incorporated?
Great point. Very well said.
That is very well said.
Judge me by, the content of my character, not by my skin, like Martin Luther King said.
That's right.
You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? But we don't get that.
We don't get
We
it.
don't mind. And a lot of individuals may find this very offensive, but we talk about politics and what's going on in the world and what's being accepted. When we start talking about homosexuality, gayness, should those people be held accountable? Should those people be able to be judged for the choices that they're making in that area of life?
I believe sin is a sin, and people shouldn't judge people off a certain sin and what they think. We got it's crazy, but we got murderers out here, and we got people in the urban community that's giving them a pat on the shoulder for killing somebody. But if this dude over here walking down the street with holding hands with another man, then there's a big problem. So it's crazy.
Well, we talk about murder. You don't believe that two men not being able to reproduce and have children, you don't think that murders our future?
Yeah.
I mean, so when you start talking about murder, I do agree with you. All sin is the same, and it's very easy to step out and judge someone for their sin, because you say, I don't do that, but what do you do?
Right.
But somewhere has been stated, judge not,
Mm-hmm.
that you be not judged.
Right.
And I, as an individual, I will not do that. I'm not going to judge an individual because of the way they are, or the color of their skin, or their age, or they're disabled, they're gay, whatever. That's not for me to judge.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is held accountable as an individual,
Right.
not for me to do it,
Right. Well, how do you tell them? Well, because if you see a murderer and you get the opportunity to talk to him, you're not going to tell him that what he's doing is right. You
No.
see where I'm coming from? How do you tell them that it's wrong without judging them?
But you wouldn't be judging them. You're just giving them your opinion. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're judging
Right.
what they've done. And your opinion is that based on what they have done, you don't think that's the right thing to do.
Right.
Okay, so you're saying we don't have to go ahead.
I believe they know, but it's just going on how the world is operating. It's more for murder. I keep talking about murder and gay. It's more about murder. The world right now is murder is bad. I mean, well, murder is bad in certain communities, but in the other community, you get, like I said, you got pat on the shoulder. We come from the poverty.
Yeah.
But more so as gay, it's like, in this neighborhood, it's okay. But in this urban community, man, you might get murdered for
trying to come at somebody
for being gay.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's all about the world. It's like wherever you at, I feel like. But in my eyes, wrong is wrong. And I feel like Mr. Dortch, I'm not going to, listen, man, I'll shake your hand. You gay, I'll shake your hand, man. We might have to do business, but you're not going to come to my house. That's just how I feel. You're not going to come in my house because I don't want my daughter or my son exposed to whatever demon you got on you.
So you're saying that you accept the fact that they've made a choice, but you can't accept that fact into your life.
Yeah, I will not accept it, bro. I accept, and out here in the street, I have to. Cause
so there's no judgment, but it's, hey, you do what you do, and over there and over here, this is what we do.
Right, man.
Okay.
You can't chill with it.
But I differ with that. I think it's about relationship building,
Mm-hmm.
networking, all of that. The thing with the Trayvon Martin, now not everyone, but some people are saying we need to put race on the table and have an open dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
We can have an open dialogue about all of these because some things we don't understand. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
Education opens a lot of eyes, so education brings about a relationship building and understanding, gives you knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you're able to accept things a lot easier. And that's one thing we don't do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't communicate with each other.
To
That's
see
it.
what people going through.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think that the case, like Mr. Dortch was saying, it's bringing to light to, a lot of things that's been going on, where, like they've been saying, there's two Americas. There's a white America and there's a black America.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
And I think this sums it up, and you guys probably have heard this post on Facebook. This is by Alex Frazier. He says, "Dear George Zimmerman, for the rest of your life, you're going to feel what it's like to be a black man in America. You will feel people stare at you, judging you for what you feel are unfair reasons. I bet you never thought by shooting a black male, you'd end up inheriting all of his struggles."
It's powerful.
It's very powerful.
Now, we didn't talked about politics. We didn't even brought homosexuality into the conversation. And then where I truly have a passion is helping a lot of my peers and whoever comes along with it to be better business owners, to be better owners, period. You know, homeowners, being better leaders in the household for their families. And I've seen so many times, you know, people have a hard time letting go of their hustler's mindset. What are some differences between being a hustler and a businessman? Although we know that you can be both, what are some differences? Do I have any input on that?
I don't have any too much on that one. I mean, to me, they're almost like one and the same. You know, I mean, when you honestly hustling, I mean, because I got that from Arsenio Hall years ago when I read his book, you know, The Prince of Late Night. You know, he said, like, that's all I was doing when I realized and I was trying to make it. I was just trying to honestly hustle. That's all I was doing. The only difference between me and the drug dealer is I'm doing it honestly and he's doing it maybe on a dishonest level.
It don't have to be a
but this country was built on corruption, not to, you know, cut you off, you know what I mean? So, and it still is to a certain degree, you know, it's just we don't see all of it.
Well, when we think about hustlers, we think about, like you said, drug dealers. It doesn't have to be a drug dealer. I mean, before I started my vending machine company, I was selling candy. I was hustling. But when I actually built my vending machine company, I had a company. It was a different way I carried myself. It was a different way that I sold to people. Everything changed. You know, I did everything on paperwork. You know, it wasn't about just this, you know, we put this drug title on it. That's not what it's all about. I mean, I seen a guy selling TVs. And the first thing you ask him, you know, because he was one of the type of guys who say, well, the white man don't care nothing about me. He's not going to help me. And I said, well, maybe that's true. I can't tell you what a white man is thinking in his mind. I can't tell you what anybody is thinking. But what I can tell you is that there's some things that you can do to improve what's going on in your life and in your business that may help a person be able to help you. And who's going to take you serious if you don't even have a company incorporated?
Well, that is true. When I first came to Fort Wayne, I was recruited here by International Harvester. I went to work in the corporate office, you know, from 7:30 to 8 to 5 every day. Came home, took my suit or tie off, put on jeans, and did an evening job, you know, part-time. I drove a Volkswagen, you know, whereas all of my friends were driving Deuce and a Quarters and all those other cars, you know. You know, I did that, you know. And then when I got to Parkview, obviously I went through all of the positions, left as a vice president, started my own company. So some people said it was hustling, but some people look at hustle as a negative term, and it's not negative. You know, if you want to make it, oftentimes I don't see anything wrong with the word hustle, you know, because that's what I was doing. I was working, you know, and every night I'm reading or staying up to 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'm up the next day, you know, as if I don't have a penny, but you know, I'm hustling. You know, working hard.
And see, I think there's a difference between, and even the dictionary breaks it down that way. There's a difference between having a hustle and being a hustler.
That's correct.
So, you know, I remember in football, boxing, all the sports I played, you heard trainers, coaches saying, hustle, show a sense of urgency. And it's the same way in business or in anything. When you start talking about fast, it's different. Being a business owner, money don't come in fast like that all the time. It's a lot of things that are truly different. And the difference between Arsenio Hall, no disrespect to him, he's found his success at what he does, but he's under a contract working for a business owner. He don't own the company.
But he's still hustling though.
No doubt. That's my point. That's my point.
That's my point.
He's making money.
That's what I'm saying. He's just making bigger money on a larger, you know, stage.
That's what I said. I'm not knocking what he's doing, but he still would recognize that this person who is writing his checks is on a different level. He's a business owner. I work for this company. It's just like being a barber. I remember a barber asked me, he said, well, am I a hustler? Well, no doubt about it. Whoever you paying booth rent to is a business owner. He owns the company. You represent his company.
Well, now you're going into something else. You're going into like what Chris Rock said in one of his jokes. He said, Shaquille O'Neal is rich, but the guy that writes his check is wealthy.
and you know, we can talk about that's one great point. And that's just one great point. But even on a lower level, we can think about the amount of money and always compare that. But you can be worth $100 million, I can only be worth 50 million, but I can be a better businessman than you are. Do you see where I'm coming from?
So let me add this to the conversation then, because I heard this one the other day, where it said self-worth is more important than net worth. Guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I agree with
You
that.
don't understand that?
Well,
When you build yourself up, then you can build your net up.
That's
But
right.
In order for you to build your net, you have to build yourself first.
I agree.
we talked about
Strongly.
it before. You can be worth. You got a lot of these rappers and stuff who and things who have, you know, you can go on Google and ask what their net worth is, and it'd be $100 million. And most of these people ain't got $20 million cash to their name in their account, but they done went out here and got all these things on credit.
Right.
And I wouldn't say it's the American way, but and it could be. But I'm just saying they have put themselves in position to where everything looks good. You know, we seen no disrespect to him as an individual, but at one point it was saying that Bow Wow, you know, had all this ownership and his own franchise at McDonald's, and he was a $100 million man, and now you're getting paid $40,000 a year on BET. I'm like, oh man, this stuff is a joke.
Yeah, and then you're getting 4,000.
Well, now see, now you're going into where, you know, like you talked about the hills and the peaks and the valleys, you know, down, up, down. That's how business is. You know, sometimes you high up, and then other times you deep.
That is
down
correct.
low.
There's
That's
ups
correct.
and downs, yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt
it's
about
like
it.
the stock market. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
right.
ups and it's down.
That's
you
right.
know? So I think when you're talking about like Bow Wow, you know, he does have some money. You know, because he, you know, by doing those films and doing those albums, you know, and doing, you know, this other stuff that he's done, you know, you get paid from that with your royalties and things of that
Right,
nature.
right.
So there's a little bit of money there. It's just not as much as we realize. Like the guy that, you know, manages me, you know, he said, you're going to make somebody else rich before you get rich.
Right.
Before you get your first million.
Right.
Somebody else going to get that
That
first
is
million
correct.
over you.
That
They're
is
going to be
correct.
patting you on the back while you still in the hundreds.
That is
But thank you, Jason, for doing such a good job. You
That's
know?
true.
And that's the way it should work, honestly, right?
So.
Because if I give you know, I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and you know, you kind of get the same conversation with a lot of people from the streets, because whether they recognize it or not, a lot of it is they want a handout. And I remember when I first left my hustler's mindset to try to be a true businessman, that's one of the first things I thought, oh, I got this vision, I got this great idea, write me a check. It just does not work like that.
No.
It does
No.
not work like that.
No.
If I can show you how we can make money together, then that's what it's all about. You know, we come together as a partnership, because the first thing that came out of his mouth was, this person don't really care about you. He's about getting his pockets fatter. Well, if he just handed you $100,000 and everybody in his family who's asking for money and everybody else who come to him for $100,000, he ain't gonna have no money. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Totally.
So it's a reason for that. You know, I know I was watching a behind the scenes, it was interviews with Damon John, who started FUBU, and I think it was Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He said, you'd be surprised how many people have actually stolen money coming on Shark Tank. We give you this deal and we never see them again. That's just, they mess things up for everybody else.
Yeah, for the people that's really trying to do it.
Yeah, so, you know, it has to be a business way of doing things where we sit down, we put everything down on paper, and whatever don't make sense, there's going to be some questions asked.
But Devon, I understand that, because you know how many businesses fail first 3 years, people trying to start out, you know. It's not easy. So I wouldn't say they gave the money away. Maybe someone went in with good intention. Now, what might have happened along the way, they didn't have good mentors to help them or point them in the right direction.
Right. Okay. And I mean, that's a great thing. You know, I you know, what I've learned as a young business owner and reading books and being around certain people, such as yourself, there's a whole lot that you think you know that you don't know.
Didn't I just say that earlier?
There's a
Yes,
whole
you
lot.
did.
Yes,
You
you
did.
did. And there's a whole, and this is my
you
point
did.
right here. There's a whole lot more to know in business.
Yes.
You can be a hustler. You can have that hustle, and you can have the. I heard Tyler Perry say it. If you can cook, crack, and do all these different things, then you have the capabilities of running the business.
Yeah.
But there's so much more that you need to know to run that business. You're a baby. You don't know nothing about running a company. You know what I'm talking about? You have a long way to go.
That's true.
And I had to learn that. So it's not as simple. You know, it's just like I heard a pastor say one time. He said, when people get a good word, what's the first thing they do? A lot of them. They run out there and think that they the preacher now.
Yeah.
Man, you got a long way to go. You want to tell the pastor what he should be preaching about. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So, you know, you hear so many people say, oh, I've hustled, I've made this much money, I did this. It ain't how much money you done made, how much can you keep?
That is true. But you made a statement a few minutes ago that you should kind of change it. You said you had to learn that. You're learning that. Whether you, again, 80 years old and is entrepreneur, you still can learn things. You don't know it all.
Right.
So you're learning that.
And that's my message to anyone out there. That's just a great point, you know. So we appreciate everybody for watching Wisdom and Prosperity. I want to thank Mr. John Dortch for being here, a guy who I have so much respect for and love for. Mr. Jason Dixie and Jermaine Muff. Y'all want to put up the deuces? God bless. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Hey, good stuff, man.
Good points, man.
If you ever need some help, let me know, brother.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Amen.
Oh, man, I wanted to get into, I wanted to go into the Georgia.